Something you'll always see when Graces F comes up in conversation is the sentiment that the combat is possibly the best in the series, but the story is pretty weak, and I agree with the story part. When you ask why though, well, I think the answers you get are just flat out wrong. You'll usually be told that it's weak because it's yet another power of friendship trope fest, but I'm of the opinion that the real problem is that it's a story about nothing.
Nothing? Nothing.
It's almost literally Seinfeld.
What does that mean?
Well, I'll play myself, Asbel, and I have a brother Hubert, a neighbor Sharia, and a friend called Sophie, which is all true. Unlike a lot of other Tales games, the Graces F story actually gets stronger in the later half. There is finally some cohesive thread to follow. When you think about how the other Tales games start, or really most RPGs in general, there is a pretty clear premise that the story is built on. In Symphonia, for example, the plot begins with Colette's journey of world regeneration. The world is in decline and the Chosen must go on this journey to fix it. That is the premise. Graces F really doesn't have anything like that, and the actual main plot that eventually reveals itself comes after 10 hours of basically just Asbel and company existing.
Nothing.
Now, we are obviously talking about Tales of Graces F Remastered here, so let's get the remastered stuff out of the way. In short, it's excellent. Graphically, the game has never looked better. Small details are noticeably sharper and more defined, with the original art style carrying it the rest of the way. I played on PC and didn't encounter any major bugs. The performance was great as well, with frame rates up to 120 FPS with no stuttering, which has become almost a hallmark of JRPG PC releases in recent times. There were a number of improvements made in this remaster as well, some more useful than others, but they are all a net benefit. I especially liked the toggleable sprint button, which is just straight up better than the always on movement speed grade shop option that it's based on. The quest markers are better than the original, but the markers for limited time events had limited usefulness in my experience. You're probably still going to need a guide if you don't want to accidentally miss things like skits and side quests. All things considered though, I have no hesitation in saying that Graces F Remastered is the best way to experience Graces F. With the exception of some licensed DLC costumes, everything is here and better than ever. Combat on the other hand, is it better than the rest of the series? Many people would have you believe that, but I just don't agree. I am, however, happy to admit when I'm wrong, and my much younger self, coming from titles like Symphonia and Tales of the Abyss, didn't like the combat in Graces F at all. That much younger self was a bit of an idiot though, he just clearly didn't like change. See, Graces is the genesis of art trees. Rather than having regular attacks and a roster of equipable arts that use a mana-like resource such as TP, arts are performed in series, semi-automatically following a branching path on the art tree. Even though I had a lot of fun this time around in Graces F Remastered, the art tree style of combat is just not my preferred style. Give me combat from the Exilias over Graces F, Zestiria and Berseria any day of the week, but of the art tree systems, Graces F is my favourite. It's very satisfying once it clicks, and I might have done a complete 180 on my younger self. He liked the older combat in Symphonia and Abyss, but I think I like the newer, slightly less old combat in Graces F. I'm just glad the series is still going in different directions and didn't stick with art trees permanently. I'm not saying you're wrong if you think Graces F has the best combat in the whole series and that Tales going forward should use it as a foundation, but, well, you're wrong. Anyway, do any of you remember when skits were skits? I seem to remember the last time I said that it didn't go down very well, but Graces F proves my point better than any analysis of how overly long, abundant, and forced skits have become in later entries ever could. The skits in Graces F are like a breath of fresh air, except they're old, so it's like taking a breath from one of those bottled fresh air products that was collected years before pollution fucked it all up. In my opinion, this was the golden age of skits in the Tales series. They're short, they're punchy, funny, silly. Are they all interesting? No, but that doesn't matter when they're only 20 or 30 seconds long. This is what I feel skits should be. They're little character moments peppered all throughout the adventure for flavour, and they're perfect this way. If there's one thing the series should take from this entry going forward, it is this. It doesn't matter what skits look like visually, but please dear God, bring the short length and whimsical writing back to them. So where does the Tales series go from here? What can we expect next in the Tales Remastered project and for the 30th anniversary? I think we should all get our hopes up for Tales of Exilia and or Tales of the Abyss Remastered and a new mainline entry at least announced before the end of the year. If you'd like to hear more about why I think that, well, I might just make another video. Maybe. Let me know if you want to see it, but I'm not making any promises because last time I made a promise about something video related, everything went to hell. Thanks for sticking around though, I'll see you all next time.